What's up, Hair Loss World? David here with Micropig, explaining to you guys why we do scalp micropigmentation in sessions. So if you see here in this picture, we have a potential client who came in. He wanted me to fix the work, but I wanted just to show you guys what SMP looks like when it's botched, what it looks like when you go to an inexperienced artist, somebody who doesn't have experience, okay? This artist went too deep, number one. By the way that the impressions are scattered out, the artist had basically no experience at all when it came to performing this treatment, right? Because an artist with experience is going to be able to do about, okay, I'm just throwing a number out just off of my experience. I'm thinking about 5 impressions a second, probably. So let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, probably impressions a second. And we're doing this in such a nature that we're not going too deep, okay? We're keeping it superficial by doing so. And we have this down packed. It's a method that we have down packed that not even the most experienced tattoo artist has, because this isn't a technique that they use on a daily basis, okay? I've had clients who've gone to tattoo artists, and I've spoken to these very tattoo artists because these tattoo artists happen to be my tattoo artists, the people who work on my skin. And we've had one-on-one conversations about them trying scalp micropigmentation and telling me, man, I did it. And when the client came back a week later, like, the impressions expanded. And I didn't know if I used the wrong size needle or what it was, you know what I mean? And some of these clients are people that I had to fix. And so this is just me talking to an actual tattoo artist with many years of experience. So the technique is different than traditional tattooing, okay? And the pigments are diluted based off of the person's skin tone. People with darker skin tones tend to have thicker skin. Light waves penetrate at different depths. And so what we end up getting is when SMP artist uses impressions that are overly rich, and those impressions begin to subside over time, the light waves that penetrate a little bit deeper than the other ones tend to be the blue and the green hues. So what's reflecting back to your eye are those hues, those undertones. And so, boom, now you got this impression that is giving off a bluish green impression. And that's because those impressions were overly rich. So if you're wondering why we dilute the pigments and we start really light, it's to avoid discoloration over time. Another thing, the impressions are going to discolor if the artist goes too deep from the jump. Not only are they going to expand, but they're going to have a little bit of discolorment to them as well. So this is why we use the techniques that we use. Now, if you see here, you can see my impressions, all right? And even my impressions aren't, for some reason, they don't look as conventional as other SMP artists. But my work is my work, and I do it my way. And I like how it looks. But at the same time, if you pay attention, I'm following all the rules. I'm not going too deep. I'm diluting the pigment accordingly. You know, and sometimes by not holding my gun at a 90-degree angle, sometimes I can get a better effect for me. I get a better look. I get a better, more natural result. Even though it's been commonly determined amongst most SMP artists to go at a direct 90-degree angle, I do so as well in certain areas, and then in certain areas I don't. Okay, I do it kind of at a different little angle. It creates a nice little stroke sometimes, depending on how I'm angling the machine and how fast I'm going, right? As I'm going across the scalp, I'm able to create a look that looks a lot better than just a single dot or impression. To me, it looks a lot more natural. And when we bring it all together during the second and third session, it just allows for a better effect. And see, so I post all my pictures online so clients can see and they can determine whether or not they want to come to me. And so we're going to put my impressions side by side with these impressions. And as you see here, here's the difference. Now, let's talk about the effect that comes from doing it in sessions as well. Okay, because we get a nice soft hairline, right? And I'm going to tell you why. We're able to accomplish a soft hairline even when it's straight. So the first session, the hairline is going to look a little bold, okay? Simply because the skin's going to be red, and those are the only impressions standing out at that moment. Okay, so your hairline is going to look a little bit bolder on the first session than what the finished product is going to be. So after we apply the first session, we went over the whole head, boom, boom, it's a little red, but it looks good, right? We give it a week to heal. Now, different people retain pigment differently. Again, we're depositing something foreign into the skin, and sometimes your body's going to try to attack it. So what ends up happening during this process is some of the pigments begin to lighten. Some of them might even erase completely. This is why aftercare is very important as well, because you don't want to aid in the lack of retention. So aftercare is important, and the most important thing is to keep it dry for at least 7 days. Okay, so after the first session results lighten, right, we have to reinforce so we can get some more retention. It's a reinforcement session basically, and we go all back over the scalp again, add some more density to it. It's going to look a lot denser now because we're adding what was left from the first session, and we're adding new impressions on the second session so we can get some more retention. But here's the kicker. We don't have to go over that hairline as much as we did the first time. As it lightens, we're able to just kind of thicken it. We're able to just fill it in and add some more density without having to touch the hairline so much, and it creates a soft look due to the contrast from the first session and the second session. So then now, right, it lightens again. We let it heal for another week, and it lightens again, and on the third session we do another reinforcement, and we don't have to touch the hairline as much again, and it creates a soft hairline, a nice look. We're able to go ahead and fill it in. So after 3 sessions, after you get all 3 sessions, let's say it still didn't retain the way you wanted it to. It's completely okay. I'm not going to charge you after you paid for your first 3 sessions. If you need a 4th and a 5th session, right, all you have to do is just tip. Now, some people work in the sun, some people live extreme lifestyles. And when I mean extreme, they're like in the heat all day, every day. And sometimes it's hard for them to get the kind of retention that somebody would get who works in an office. I get it. So my biggest concern is that it just ends up looking good. So if we need to do an additional session for free, that doesn't matter. As long as the results look the way they need to, then I'm happy. Okay? So that's pretty much it. That's pretty much why we do scalp micropigmentation the way we do it. Again, after your first session results, whether it lightens or not, some people feel like, oh, I just wasted money because my first session results lightened too much. And no, you didn't. It's a process. If it could be done in 1 session, it would be done in 1 session. But we're doing it in sessions because it's a process. If it lightens substantially, that's okay. We're going to go dense again. We're going to add some more pigment. We're going to reinforce it. Again, if you need an additional session, it's going to be free. So don't worry about how the first session results look, and don't assume that just because the first session results came out a little bit light, that the second session results are going to be the same. Okay? We're going to keep adding more to it. We're going to keep layering it and adding more until we get the kind of retention we want. So it's okay. But yeah, so that's basically it. So for more information about scalp micropigmentation, if you want to do a virtual consultation, you can. If you want to come into the office, that's cool.